Yo, what up, everybody? It's Courtney of the Black Dad Chronicles, and this is episode 4 of the Black Dad Chronicles, my podcast that is about me, my experiences as a dad, anything I want to talk about. Maybe sports, maybe potty training, maybe diaper changing, maybe an interview, which I have something working in the pipeline. But today we're going to talk about something different, something I was very interested in. We are going to talk about life changes. What life changes have you made this year? Some people make New Year's resolutions. Some people just decide that, all types of stuff. They're going to stop smoking. They're going to start exercising more. I decided to do away with New Year's resolutions last year, just because every year I was just like most people, falling into the trap of making a bunch of New Year's resolutions and then never following through on any of them. So last year I decided, I was going to stop with that. And what I was going to do, instead of making a New Year's resolution, I was going to set small goals for myself. So the main goal that I set last year was to lose 60 pounds, which I did not accomplish. I saw progress, but I actually all of last year, I dropped about 18 pounds over the course of the entire year. And that's due to a lot of things: exercise, dieting, So, but this year I decided I was going to make 2 changes. Well, actually 3. One of them is really small, but 3. The really small one and the first one, I said I was just going to stop arguing with dumb people on Facebook, because there's some people that's dumb, and I shouldn't necessarily say dumb. I should say stop getting into dumb arguments on Facebook, because on Facebook you're never going to change anybody's opinion. No, regardless of how right you are on something and how wrong the other person is, some people just have their mind set on a certain thing, and regardless what you say, they're going to keep their opinion and you're not going to change it. Some could be arguing that the sky is purple. You say, no, it's pretty clear that the sky is blue. Nah, man, the sky purple. It's purple every time I look at it. Every time I see it, especially when the sun sets, it's a beautiful purple. Nah, bruh, sky blue. Regardless of how you talk to that person, regardless of how right you are, that person, some people are just always going to have their opinions. Like we all have opinions. But some people have, very far-fetched opinions. I'm pretty sure I have some of them. But, last year I encountered, crazy opinions. And I just said, you know what? I'm stressing myself. Facebook is not real life to me. I'm just going to stop getting into stupid arguments on Facebook. And for the most part, well, actually, I shouldn't say for the most part, I've done that. It's April 4th. Actually, now, because it's just after midnight, it's April 5th. And sorry, I'm recording this pod so late, guys. Spring break, the kids are out of school. I had to take my daughter to basketball practice today. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but having to take her to the basketball practice today just kind of threw my day off. And I just wanted to cook cook breakfast for the kids, which I don't get a chance to do that often. That's one of the things I do. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. I can have breakfast anytime, day or night. It don't matter. I'm a pancake fiend. I love grits. When I was eating pork and beef, I used to love some of that smoked sausage. I just love breakfast, man. I can eat oatmeal any time of day. I can eat grits and eggs any time of day. I can eat pancakes any time of day. If my teeth was still, proper, then I would probably be eating cereal any time of day like I used to. But man, I just love breakfast, man. Like I said, breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. But one of the things I love doing is I love cooking breakfast for the family. And like I said, I don't really get a chance to do that often because my kids wake up so dang early on Saturdays. And Saturdays is usually, especially, during the school year, Saturdays is usually, the day that I can wake up and cook breakfast because I'm usually not working Saturday mornings. But my kids get up so freaking early in the morning. I'm like, man, y'all been getting up early all week. Sleep in a day, But they choose to sleep in on Sundays when we actually got to get up early and go to church. So that's the day that they usually want to sleep in. But I kind of understand why, it's the way their bodies are programmed. But, I just wanted to take a breath and cook breakfast for the kids today. And I got to, cook breakfast for my bookends today. And I call them my bookends, CJ and Olivia, because they're the oldest and youngest, respectively. So they bookend Jazz. So, and Jazz is the one who had back to basketball practice, which, I'm impressed that she's jumped into sports the way she has, particularly basketball, and she really loves golf. Now, she's my girly girl, She's like the true definition of a girl. There's nothing tomboy about her. But she loves golf. She really likes basketball. So, I'm going to let her run with it. My cousin holds a basketball camp in Indianapolis. And my goal is to send, the older two to the camp. Liv likes basketball, but I think she would kind of be lost in the camp. But anyway, before I get, too lost on anything. So, yeah, that was a small change I made. I decided I was not going to get into any more frivolous arguments on Facebook. And as of right now, April 5th, 2017, I have kept true to that. And I can't believe it's April already, But, second, I told myself that I was no longer going to eat meat, And for the most part, I've done that. So I decided to change my diet last year. Well, actually, not a long time ago. This process has kind of been in the wheels, and these wheels have kind of been in motion for about 4 or 5 years now. First started when I was just interested in just, eating plant-based stuff. And my boy Meech hit me up. Him and his wife had just watched Forks Over Knives on Netflix, like right when it first came out. So probably like 2 days after Meech told me about, Forks Over Knives, then I watched Forks Over Knives. And I was like, wow, man, this is life-changing. So I actually went ahead and bought the book, read the book on my Kindle, from cover to cover twice. And I just decided like, I'm really going to live this plant-based lifestyle. I'm going to eat nothing but plants, no flesh, no animal. I already don't drink milk, because I'm lactose intolerant. But that doesn't stop me from eating ice cream, man. My brother loves ice cream, and I just deal with the consequences, man. And unfortunately, the family got to deal with those consequences too. But I told myself a couple years ago that I was going to just go vegan. And since then, my older brother has gone vegan. And I really saw the positive change physically that he made. So my brother's about 6'3". I'm 6 feet. My brother's about 6'2", 6'3". So the heaviest I ever was 289. And I'm one of those guys who I carry weight well. My weight is kind of distributed well, so I don't look as big as I am. But people are surprised when I tell them I'm 260 pounds. Back then people were still surprised when I told them I was 289, 290 pounds. So, I told myself, I'm going to go vegan because I watched my brother. He dropped all this weight. He was going to the gym also, but he's toned, really cut up. And then here's the miracle of it, man. This Negro grew his hair back. He's since cut it all off, I guess. I don't know why he cut it back off, but he's bald like I am. But last time I saw him in person, he was probably about I don't know, maybe about 280. He was probably like 280, 290, just like I was, you know. He and I are both kind of pear-shaped, you know. But, you know, I haven't seen him in person in probably about 5 years maybe. But, you know, we're friends on Facebook and friends on Instagram. And, you know, every time he posts a picture, it's like, man, this fool did it, man, you know. So I decided, that's what I'm going to do. You know, I'm going to go vegan. You know, I'm tired of eating, you know, and I stopped eating beef because I would eat a burger or something like that. And I was never in the state, you know. I was never, you know, in the state. But every time I ate, you know, beef, I would just feel like I just slowed down, like just slow, man. You know, it was just like I'd be at work and, you know, one of the things that we would do, you know, working in a restaurant, it's kind of hard to do, especially when you don't work in a plant-based restaurant. So none of the restaurants that I've worked in have been vegan or vegetarian or plant-based at all. So what do you do when you hungry? You fix a burger, you know, you fix a chicken sandwich. Now I just remember, you know, fixing a burger, and right after I eat it, you know, it'd be time to clean, and it just felt like I was like stuck in cement, you know. So I found beef was really slowing me down. So I cut out all beef, you know. So I've been living beef free probably around 9 months, maybe even a year. I can't remember now. And so I got to throw a disclaimer out there. Because I'm a cook, and I don't work in vegetarian restaurants. One of your jobs as a cook is to, you know, taste the food you cook. So I haven't sat down to a meal and purposely ate beef in over a year. Have I eaten beef since then? Yes, but only just to taste something that I've cooked at work. You know, I don't eat beef at home. You know, my wife, if we go out, my wife will, you know, maybe get a steak. My wife says she ain't touching a plant-based diet. She's like, I'll eat more vegetables, but I like meat. I still like bacon. You know, I'll have a burger every now and then. You know, you can go vegan. Congratulations. I'm not going vegan. That's what she told me. You know, so, you know, so then I just was like, okay, decided to stop eating pork. And, you know, it's the same thing with pork. I don't purposely sit down to a meal and eat pork. I have tasted it, you know, at work, for the purpose of, you know, when you got a dish, you got to taste that dish before it goes out. You know, even the great Grant Achatz would taste the dish when he was going through his tongue cancer. He would still taste the dish. He couldn't taste it, you know, but he would still taste the dish. You know, as a cook, you have to taste your dishes, you know. So I haven't purposely sat down and ordered a pork chop, ordered bacon or anything like that. It's probably been about 8 or 9 months since I've, you know, really stopped eating pork. But now I'm getting to the point where, man, eating flesh doesn't even taste good anymore. You know, even the almighty chicken, man, you know, the Negro's greatest meal. No, I'm just kidding. The Negro's favorite protein, you know, I should say. You know, it just doesn't even taste appealing, man. It starts to turn my stomach. You know, like I had scrambled eggs this weekend and they were fine. And because I am a baker, you know, I still bake with butter. And if a recipe calls for eggs, you know, I'll still get eggs. Because my kids eat eggs. Well, actually, my kids don't eat eggs. I have one child who likes eggs. My wife eats eggs. But because I do a lot of baking, I keep eggs in the house. You know, because I do a lot of cooking. Listen, when you sauteing something, I don't care how good the vegetable is. And look, man, vegetables always, in my opinion, taste better sauteed, than they do steamed or, blanched or whatever. Yo, you can't tell me that there's anything more flavorful, any fat to use in a pan more flavorful than butter. It's not. No, not olive oil, which, you shouldn't be sauteing with olive oil anyway. If you're out there sauteing your dishes with olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil, because I know how y'all do, stop it. Stop it. Olive oil is not meant for high heat cooking. It's not. It'll burn quickly, has a low smoke point, and it just changes the flavor. Olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil, should really only be used for like salad dressings or things of that nature. So stop sauteing in olive oil. But anyway, I got coconut oil at the house. I got a bunch of coconut oil. I use coconut oil on my skin, especially in the summertime. I cook with coconut oil. It's just not the same as cooking with butter, man. So it's hard for me to give up, throwing some zucchini in the pan and using butter as a lubricant, as the fat. It's hard for me to, saute anything. And I use butter, unless it's, like a meat or something, you know what I'm saying? If I, first of all, I try not to cook meat at the house at all. And if I do cook meat, the wife and the kids eat it, I won't eat it. Now, I will say my daughter Jasmine, all my kids, we raised our kids to love fruits and vegetables. That's one thing that my wife and I did from an early age, because, most kids don't like vegetables. And, if your kids come into our house to spend the weekend and hang out with us, they're going to eat their vegetables, regardless of how hard they protest. My nephew, Shuggy, shout out to Shug, my nephew, 7 years old. Man, he just turned 7 last week. Yeah, 7-year-old Shuggy, he come to Uncle Rock's house, he got to eat his veggies before he get up from the table, But yeah, man, so I decided I was going to, 100% change my diet and stick with it. And it takes discipline. It really takes discipline, because there's days when I'm at work and I get lazy and I see some chicken tenders or something like that, and my mouth be watering, but I got to remember my goal. My goal is to have a 100% plant-based diet. Now, I'll say right now my diet is probably about 90% vegetarian. Because, like I said, I still eat eggs and I do consume some dairy, cheese and butter are the only types of dairy that don't just out and out destroy my stomach. I stopped being able to drink milk years ago. I can't even have whipped cream on something. I can't even have, cream cheese on a bagel. I can't even eat yogurt anymore. And just as early as last year, I was eating yogurt for breakfast, 3-4 times a week. But now my stomach can't handle it. So the only dairy that my stomach can handle is, like cheese and butter. And it's gotten to the point where I'll eat cheese on pizza and that's it. I used to, I'm known for my cheese grits, son. I'm famous for my cheese grits. Not really, but, fake famous. But, man, my cheese grits are something special. And I just, I make grits now. I just, season the water, throw a little butter in there, and that's what I do. A good plant-based substitute, though, that I found to throw in your grits. It's this company called Hampton Creek, doing really good plant-based things, making cookie doughs. They have a plant-based mayo that's delicious, and I'm not a mayo eater. You know what I'm saying? I used to love Miracle Whip, but I'm no mayo for me. I'm black, But, if you throw some Just Mayo, that's the name of it, from Hampton Creek Foods, you throw some Just Mayo in there in your grits, and they're going to be creamy. They're going to be flavored, smooth. I was shocked. I can't believe, one, I put mayo in grits, and two, it tastes as good as it did. So, that's one thing that I'll throw in my grits to add some flavor, some Just Mayo. So, like I said, my diet right now is about 90% vegetarian, and I do make conscious decisions. And as of, and like doing Zumba, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and yoga twice a week, man, I'm down 12 pounds from the beginning of the year. I got on the scale yesterday, 260 pounds. I started off this year being 272. I let my weight creep back up, but I'm not doing that now. I'm trying to be slender, and I got a certain frame. So I'm not going to be, skinny, because I have a not a hefty frame, but I got a big frame, so, but I'm just trying to get healthy, get there. My goal is to not be my father. My father died at 40 from a heart attack. So my goal is to end up not, him, and to be around. And another reason why I'm trying to, keep my body in shape is because I want to hoop again. I love basketball, but because, I've been carrying so much weight, my ankles ain't right, my knees ain't right, it's weird because, doing Zumba don't take nearly as much toll as, hooping does. And hey, forget hooping outdoors, man. Hooping, you won't catch me on an outdoor court no more, man. I feel like I'd be in a car accident, coming off the outside court. So, that's the reason why I made that change, and I stuck to it, and that's going to be the biggest change in my life so far. So before I get to change number 3, and probably the most interesting change, I'm going to give you all a message from our sponsor. Our sponsor today is Cake Couture. Now, I told y'all about her last week. It's my homie Shania. As a matter of fact, the last 2 weeks I done told y'all about her. My homie Shania, listen, you need cakes, you need cupcakes, you need something for a birthday, you need something for holidays, weddings, just because, Valentine's Day, sweetest day, custom cakes and treats. She's the only place you should go to. Cake Couture. If you want to go find out more, go to the website www.couturecakery.com. Phone number is 313-914-1116. And that's if you want to get, custom cakes for, baptisms, she got you. Weddings, she got you. Repasts, she got you. Birthdays, she got you. Anything you need, anything you need. Cakes, cookies, peach cobbler. You got the outdoor cookout coming up, and your family say, you got to get a dish if you want to participate. Hit up Cake Couture, bring you some peach cobbler. It's some dang good peach cobbler. Now, I fancy myself a really good, I don't want to say I fancy myself a peach cobbler artist, but I'm definitely a peach cobbler snob. And I'll put her peach cobbler up there as one of the best I've ever eaten. So once again, that's Cake Couture, www.couturedcakery, that's coutured, COUTUERD, cakery.com. All right, y'all. So change number 3 that I made. Excuse me while I sip my tea. I gotta have that. But change number 3 I made. And this is the most interesting change I've gone through this year, right? So anybody who knows me knows how big a fan I am of technology, of phones, basically phones, Like I told y'all last week, some people like Jordans, some people like cars, I like phones. I gotta have the latest and greatest. I'm always on the tech blogs, on Android Central, Android Police, Android Authority, Pocket Now, all those blogs. Following all the tech YouTubers on YouTube. Because I always want to keep my eye on the latest and greatest smartphones out there, and to be honest, a lot of my friends and family come to me for suggestions on what they should look for in their next cell phone, or like, yo, how is this compared to this, or hey, my phone is doing this, what should I do? And I've gotten all this information. Like the first smartphone I ever had was a BlackBerry, I believe. But I fell in love with Android, the moment I got my hands on that T-Mobile G1. I'll never forget. The T-Mobile G1, or the HTC Dream, it's the first Android phone to hit the market. I remember when I first moved to Auburn Hills, there was a T-Mobile store opening around the corner. The same T-Mobile store that I go to all the time, where they know me by name. I know everybody in the store by name. So I went in there. It was like the grand opening, and went in there, me and the wife, just to check it out, because we had T-Mobile. Man, I've been a T-Mobile customer for probably 2017, 14 years. 13 and a half years. It'll be 14 years in September, and I've never found a reason to leave. So anyway, get back to the story. I'll never forget the associate. Her name was Vivian. She was like, look, this is a smartphone. This is an Android phone. Show me that G1 with the tiny 2.1 inch display and the slide up keyboard. Man, I was hooked. I was hooked on Android. And ever since then, I've just been hooked on everything about Android. The customizability, the fact that, Android phones are usually on the bleeding edge when it comes to specs, blah, blah, blah. And I was really an Android fanboy, man. I used to hate Apple. Never owned Apple. So the only Apple product I'd ever owned was a tiny little iPod Shuffle that I got when I opened my Chase account, my bank account at Chase. They gave it to me for free. So that was the only Apple product that I ever had, but that was back when you had to use iTunes for everything else. And I hated using iTunes. It slowed my computer down, So I was just always, because I was such a fan of Android, in my mind, I was thinking, yo, I naturally gotta hate Apple, because Apple is the natural enemy of Android. Which is ridiculous when I say that out loud, but that's how the fanboys are, I was, oh man, Samsung this, oh your iPhone could do this, well my Android phone could do that 2 years ago, blah blah blah. Oh, you got the big, you got a 4-inch display. Well my phone got a 5-inch display. That was huge, you know what I'm saying? Now, it's like phones is put up there, got 6-inch displays and stuff like that. The ZTE Z Max Pro has a 6-inch display. The Galaxy S8 Plus has a 6.2-inch display. So I say all that to say, I got to a point where now, was rocking so I used to change my phone every, 4 to 5 months. At first, I'd just go do trades on not Facebook, but Craigslist, And out of all the phones that I ever bought or traded on Craigslist, I only got burnt once. And I probably, traded upwards to like 20 phones on Craigslist, sold, traded and sold about 20 phones on Craigslist. And I only got burned once, But I wasn't seeing it as a problem. My sister was talking about how I had an addiction. Meech was telling me I had a problem. I'm like, it's not a problem. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like what y'all like. I like what I like. But so, hey. But, I just got to a point where I just wanted my phone to work. So last March, Galaxy S7 came out. I pre-ordered it. I had to be on the bleeding edge of the specs, son. And when the Galaxy S7 came out last March, it was on the bleeding edge of the specs. Snapdragon 820 processor, 12 megapixel camera, beautiful camera, 5.2 inch display, all that. And I'm running, this is just off the top of the dome. I don't have a spec sheet in front of me, So, man, Galaxy S7 fast. So I was like, man, all these phones that's coming out, man, this year, this is how I felt last year. Can't nothing top my Galaxy S7, man. So why am I going to trade? So then Apple announced the iPhone 7, right? most Apple fans were a little upset at the iPhone 7 because the plain iPhone, really the only upgrade it got was a processor bump and a bump on the front facing camera, you know, and the base storage, and it was waterproof, water resistant, you know, but that was it. So a lot of Apple fans was like, yo, this is really all you gonna give me, Apple? You know, of course the iPhone 7 Plus had the second camera, so it has the dual cameras, blah blah blah. But it was still like, yo, this is all I get, and I'm paying this much money for an iPhone. This is all I get, like, for real. So a lot of people was mad. Like, I'd be on the blogs and on Twitter, and people be like, man, I can't believe, you know, Apple trying to play me like this. I'm gonna just wait. I ain't even gonna upgrade. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine with my iPhone 6. And it's fine, you know, and Apple and Android are two totally different arenas because one of the things that was starting to bother me about Android was updates, you know, and not just, well, it was, you know, staying update with the current, you know, version of Android, but it was security updates. So case in point. So beginning of the year, I was like, yo, I cannot call myself, you know, a cell phone fanatic or a tech geek, having never owned an iPhone. And I don't know why the iPhone 7 intrigued me, but it really did. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to grab me an iPhone 7. But I got the iPhone 7 Plus, you know, because I like the big display. And, you know, a lot of people are scared to get big phones because they are so you know, they seem so big. And the iPhone 7 Plus is a big phone. But, man, it just, in my hands, and I have big hands, but my hands aren't, like, huge by any stretch of the imagination. But they are big. But it's like the more you use a big phone, the more, you know, the smaller it feels in your hand and the more it fits. That's what I try to tell my wife, but my wife just won't get a big phone for no reason. For any reason at all. So anyway, I was looking at my Galaxy S7, like, you know, it's still nothing out there that really want to make me, you know, replace it. But, you know, I'm looking at the About Phone, go to the About Phone menu, and I'm like, yo, I'm still on the November security update, man. And it's March. You know, meanwhile, Apple, because Apple has, you know, vertical integration, software with the hardware, you know, it's always fast. And right now, Apple just released iOS 10.3.2. And just now, your Apple iPhone 5s and 5Cs will no longer be receiving updates from Apple. How old is that phone? How old are those phones, man? Those phones are like ancient in smartphone years, but Apple is still updating them. So theoretically, I could keep my iPhone 7 Plus for like the next 3 years, and I'll still be getting updates from Apple because, you know, Apple releases an update. It releases to all Apple devices at the same time. You know, they release it for the iPad. It releases to all iPads at the same time. You know, Google released Android 7.0 Nougat in May, and I didn't get it on my Galaxy S7 till February because, and you know, Android being open is so you'll never find two Android devices that look the same because Android is open. So that means a device manufacturer can just take the code and build whatever they want to, you know, on top of it. So that's why your Samsung phones aren't going to look like your LG phones, and your LG phones aren't going to look like your HTC phones, and your HTC phones ain't going to look like your Huawei phones, and et cetera, et cetera. But I was getting annoyed because, you know, after a year, your Android phone is going to slow down. And that's just the reality of having Android, especially if you go into Metro PCS and getting, you know, like Samsung Galaxy, whatever, you know, not their flagship phones, you know, it's gonna slow down probably 3-4 months the more and more you put apps on it, you know. But, you know, it was about, I noticed, you know, I had my Galaxy S7 for a year and I was noticing the slowdown, and regardless of what kind of Android phone you got, you always gonna have that Android lag. Unless you get, one of the Pixel phones from Google, because, that's Android the way Google wants to design. It used to be the Nexus program, but the Nexus program was really just for developers, So Google released the Pixel last year in like September, November, October, I think. So, get back to the point. I'm now rocking an iPhone 7 Plus, and I really, really like it. There are some annoyances that I have, and some things like, I could do on my Android phone that I can't do on my iPhone, like set a custom ringtone or set a custom alarm. Like my ringtone, I'm a big wrestling fan. Y'all know that. So my alarm every morning was John Cena's theme song, because, hey, if there's anybody that can motivate you to get out the bed, it's freaking John Cena. So, but I can't do that on my iPhone. A lot of people were annoyed by the battery life of the iPhone 7 Plus. But man, this is incredible. The other night, so I stream a lot of my music, I stream my music all the time, and I do a lot of music streaming at work. I don't know what it is. I got being a new iPhone user, I got a free 3-month subscription to Apple Music. Apple Music is incredible, man. I ain't lying. I got Google Play Music, which I use all the time, but since I got my iPhone, it's probably been like maybe 3 weeks since I've used Google Play Music on my phone. Now I use it on my computer, at home, because I built playlists and stuff like that. And I have those same playlists on my phone. But it's just Apple Music is smoother. Apple Music, is really light on the battery. Like, I looked up the other day. Now the podcast app is something different. Apple's built-in podcast app, like will murder your battery. But I was streaming at work on last Friday. I was listening to Apple Music. I've been listening for probably about 2.5 hours. My battery only dropped like 7%. If I would have been using Play Music, like I would have to, when I wanted to, listen to music on my Galaxy S7, I had to, plug it up to the charger, because I knew I was losing 20 to 30%, listening to music if I wanted to listen to music for 2 hours, definitely, lose 20, 30%. But, I'm finding with the iPhones, my battery is legit, man. I love the battery. The camera is good. I'm used to having a good camera on, the Galaxy S7. That's the two main smartphone features for me. Is we got a great camera and great battery. So I'm used to having a great camera. I think I like the Galaxy S7 camera a little better than this. But, whatever. I moved over to mobile payments and stuff. So I used to use Samsung Pay all the time. And it was fast. But, Apple Pay is so much faster than Samsung Pay, man. And, it's just little things that I'm starting to, find that I like more on an iPhone. And then there's other things that I'm starting to, that I wish I could do that my Android phone could do, The reason why I got the 7 Plus was because I wanted to get back to, big display, 5.5 inch or above. LG G6 just came out. 5.7 inch display. It's bigger than it's smaller than my iPhone 7. The overall footprint of the phone. Which, Android makers are starting to move away from like a little bezel-less phone look, so your phone doesn't have any edges or bezels. I don't really like that because, my whole thing is like what I'm going to hold on to. When I'm holding my phone, how I'm going to type. It's like I said, there's certain things that I really miss on my Android phone, and certain things like I was really freaked out because, all Android phones have a back button at the bottom of the display. That's just Android. That's customary. That's standard. everybody who's used an iPhone before knows that Apple only has the home button. And, I was freaking out because there was no back button. I had an iPad, and the only thing I used it for was for the Kindle app, because I was like, it's no back button, man. iOS sucks. You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know that, started with iOS 9. All you needed to do to swipe back was just swipe from the left side of the screen. So that's what I do. And that compensates for not having a back button. So it's just little tips. And I just found that out on accident, so it's little tips and tricks that I'm learning. A lot of people, oh man, there's no headphone jack, so I can't charge my phone and listen to music at the same time. Buy a Bluetooth headset, man. Stop complaining. You really gonna complain about that? And the adapter they got is great. And I'm not an audiophile. I don't have to have like the best clarity on music and stuff. But I like listening to music how it's supposed to be. So, but yeah, man, those are the 3 changes that I made this year, and I think for the most part, they all have worked out good. What are the changes you guys have made? Hit me up on Facebook. You can find me at the Black Dad Chronicles on Facebook. You can find me at Black Dad Chronicles on Instagram. You can find me at Black Dad Chron on Twitter. On Tumblr, you can find me at the Black Dad Chronicles. And if you guys have any suggestions, comments, you can find me on iTunes. The Black Dad Chronicles is now on iTunes. So, like, subscribe, share, rate, leave a comment, do all that good stuff on your favorite podcast app, Google Play. It's on there. So I want to thank you guys for joining in with me this week. Sorry the podcast came out a little late, due to unforeseen circumstances. But hey, also if you know a dad, or if you are that dad who, wants to come on the show for an interview, tell me, and tell the world your fatherhood stories. Hit me up. You can send me an email to blackdadcron@gmail.com. You also hit me up on Twitter at blackdadcron. But before I go, I'm going to go give y'all my other sponsor, Relax by J Mace. Now look, I'm not the flashiest dude around. I'm not always trying to be shining. I don't need to floss or anything like that. I'm not really a big fan of jewelry. But my boy Johnny makes these custom bracelets, and man, they are like amazing. He takes his time, researches all the beads, he'll customize a color for you. I got a dope little 2-headed dragon bracelet that I just got from him this weekend. That's on my Instagram page. You can see that. I mean, go to Relax by J Mace. Find it on Facebook, find him on Instagram, hit him up. Hey, $20 gets you a beautiful bracelet. Beautiful. But once again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in this week. Like, share, leave a comment on iTunes. Like, share, leave a comment on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you listen to this podcast. I just want to tell y'all, have a good night. God bless. Class dismissed.